Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Grassroots Racer. Today we feature a guest who I've been longtime friends with. To actually start off, he helped me when I first started go-karting. He showed me around the track and gave me an idea of the racing line. And today he still comes back to help me, so I'm very thankful for that. When we were at Phillip Island last time out in Sandown, he was out there helping us. And as you know, at Phillip Island, we actually had a really good race, and I got to give him credit for setting the thing up so I could drive it. But yeah, today's guest is Liam Hall, and I would like to welcome him to the show. But before we do that, I would just also like to mention that Grassroots Racer is a great platform for young drivers who are young or even experienced to share their experience on motorsport, or who are looking for some support and to share their story so people know a bit about them and what they did. And it's really about promoting grassroots motorsport on the show. So if you know anyone, or if you are someone who would like to come on and share your story, please, my inbox is open and would love to hear your story. Now, on to Liam Hall. He's been racing XLs for a few years. He's not sure what he's going to do next, but you'll find out in the chat.
Thanks for joining me on the podcast tonight, Liam. Let's begin on how you got involved in motorsport. Where was the start to your journey?
Yeah, thanks, Ayrton. Start of my motorsport career was down to my dad. He took me out to a go-kart track when I was 5 years old. And just build on it from there. He had a motorsport background as well, so that obviously helped kickstart my career as well.
Yeah, and once you started go-karting, what sort of tools did you sort of use to get the basics down? How did you sort of learn these are the racing lines you got to take? This is how you got to set up your kart. How did that all come to you?
So we sort of just worked as just myself and Dad. We sort of worked together on all that sort of stuff, trying to develop myself early on in my career. So didn't have any coaches or anything like that. Just us two working together.
You coached me when I first started, though.
Someone had to. It's all right.
No. So you did karting for until you were about 14 or 15, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah, I done it till I was 16 and moving into seniors, and then we made the jump into cars after that.
Yeah, and how did that come about that you knew that was the right time to move into cars?
We sort of been around go-karts for long enough, and there was an opportunity to go to seniors or go into cars, and I wanted to see who and where I can go in my career. So I decided to go to cars from there in the National XL category as well.
So you jumped into the National XL category, and how did you sort of source your car? Did you buy your own and build it up, or did you buy a pre-race one?
So we brought a stock car and we stripped it and built it ourselves. It was a big learning curve for myself and Dad to learn the cars. So it was a good opportunity to learn about the cars and whatnot as well.
Yeah, and as we know it, Hyundai XLs have become quite popular in grassroots motorsport. So what makes the car special in your opinion?
Well, I think it's just real down to like low horsepower, front wheel drive. It's all about getting the power on, and how you can use the low horsepower and keep up your speed is really good. It makes a really good racing when there's lots of cars out there as well.
Did you find it very similar to go-karting, or did you find it was a better step up from go-karting?
It was definitely very different and a big step up in the way, obviously you've got your gears and your mirrors and just all the different components, how they make the car handle is completely different, which was a really good step up.
Yeah, 100%. And a part of that stepping up motion is if you don't know manual, you got to learn it. So did you always sort of have a sense on how to drive manual, or how did you learn?
Yeah, I learned on some friends' paddocks and stuff like that. So I had driven manual in the past to driving a race car, which helped me in my step up into XLs.
Yeah, and do you want to tell us a bit about your XL racing? So you've been racing it for, I want to say maybe 4 years, if that sounds about right.
Yeah, 3-4 years through COVID, state level for the first couple of years, and then made the jump up into the national stuff in the last couple of years. And then this year, second at Darwin in the Northern Territory in 250k Enduro. So I've been to quite a few different tracks now, but yeah, it's good.
And when you're racing the XLs, how do you sort of find the racing? Do you find that it's a really good class to learn how to battle people a bit more, or do you feel like it's a bit hard sometimes to race with people?
I think it's a good thing coming out of go-karts and stepping up into cars. It's definitely a step up. Just learning the different racecraft in cars as a stepping stone into the next category that you jump into.
When you sort of buy an XL from stock, what sort of enhancements do you got to do to the engine to enhance the performance a little bit? And what does the regulation sort of allow you to do, but also restrict you to do to make the category more even?
So you can't actually do a whole of a lot to the engine itself. It's more the car and the chassis itself. The only sort of enhancements you can make is the intake and the exhaust. Everything else internally is sealed, including the gearbox as well.
Yeah, and how do you guys sort of combat that? Is it something that you always do a bit of research and development to try and make a better setup? See what you can do in the internals on the inside of the, like with the suspension. Can you tune the suspension, or is it a like restricted sort of thing?
So they're a sealed coilover super shock suspension now. You can't change anything on the internals of it, but except for your ride height and your droop and your different settings on the suspension itself.
Yeah, and also tell us a little bit about Dream Racing Australia. You do a bit of work there, I believe.
Yeah, so I've been working this year with Dream Racing Australia out of Calder Park, which has been good on the Jackson Rice TA2, the Josh Webster TA2, and also the Craig Scatella Trans Am as well.
So tell us a bit what that involves. Do you stay at the workshop? Do you go to the track? Tell us all about it.
So I've been working in the workshop, help prepping the cars during the week, and then also going away to quite a few of the meetings this year, helping run the cars as a mechanic as well, which has been a really good experience, exposing myself to a different type of motorsport and a different category as well. Yeah,
100%. And how do you sort of balance the being a mechanic and racing at the same time? Because sometimes you'll find yourself where the weekends clash. So what do you do on weekends like that?
So I've got to prioritise my own career over the mechanicking stuff, which the boys are really good at, helping as well with that sort of stuff, which is really cool to have those guys in my corner as well.
Yeah, 100%. And then when you go away too, how do you sort of find, do you work on your own stuff? Do you have a mate who helps out or jump on the headset or something like that?
Yeah, so Greg Dale, he does all the engineering side of stuff for my XL in the national category, which is a good mates with him. So, yeah.
It's always good to have someone in your corner who you can turn to when you need a second opinion on something. And it's something that most race teams use. So that's probably, when you work at Dream Racing Australia, you'd probably find that each driver does have someone on the headset. And it's a real crucial tool to any racing team.
Yeah, definitely. It's been good experience at Dream Racing Australia to experience that engineer driver communication and how they work as a team, and then bringing that back to my team, LJ Motorsport, to help broaden our experience as well.
How do you go with bringing that experience back to the racing, like your racing? Because you said it does. What have you learnt from Dream Racing that definitely makes a difference in your racing paddock?
Just the overall experience of looking professional and presenting well goes a long way, and you get a lot of respect from the other competitors and teams and other categories as well. And you do present well, which has been really good to bring back and bring that experiences back to these guys to help them out as well, and broaden our experience as a team. It's been really good.
Yeah, definitely. And, your car definitely does look good out there. I believe you call it the Nugget. So it's a bright yellow XL, and it's going pretty quick.
Yeah, looks not too bad, I think. So that's good.
And it's true that you have got the car for sale, if I'm correct?
At the moment, yes.
So what price would you be asking for it? And how do you know what a good XL is to buy for someone who was looking into getting into the category?
It's all down to who you know and what you know. So a good XL is a very broad subject. Just depends on how many years the car's been used for and what sort of package it's got underneath, because there's quite a few different bushes and stuff on the market. So it's just about getting in contact with the owner and finding out what's under the car itself.
Yeah, so when you look for a car, would you always check for a fresh engine, sort of have the suspension looked at, when was the ball joints last done, stuff like that? Is that what you'd look for?
It's a good idea to message the owner and find out when everything's been last serviced and replaced, and get a bit of a history on it, and then go from there. It's probably your first point of call.
Yeah. And I don't race XLs or know too much about them. And is there anything crucial that it's a bit different to other cars, or is it all pretty similar?
But they're all within a very similar point of range down to what they have and how used it is. It's just how old the chassis is and the engine and stuff like that would be your first thing you'd be looking at.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, you've had some good races in it. Do you have a favorite race or something quite memorable?
It'd have to be Darwin in May this year, which was pretty cool to go up to Darwin and compete in the Northern Territory titles, which was a cool feeling to finish up on the podium there.
And have you got any stories from that weekend that made it extra special?
Not special stories. It was just a really cool environment. Being up there, it was really refreshing going up there, and then all the other competitors coming and introducing themselves and stuff, which was a really good experience. And I made a few mates up north, which has been really good as well.
Yeah, and how do you sort of see the future of Hyundai XLs? Do you think it's still quite strong? Is there many cars left out there? How do you sort of see the future for the series?
It'll be actually quite interesting seeing, because there's quite a few cars already built, which are obviously becoming weaker just due to the stress and whatnot through racing. It'll be interesting to see if they venture off into the four doors when there's no two doors left, or what they do from there.
And is there a huge difference between the two door and the four door?
I haven't driven a four door, but just because there's obviously the length of the wheelbase is probably your biggest difference.
Yeah, definitely. You can see something like that in a small hatch front wheel drive. And for you personally, what are some challenges that grassroots racers often face? From someone like yourself, you don't come from wheelbarrows, so how do you sort of get around the common hurdles?
It's just about seat time is the biggest thing, just getting more and more seat time out there. The biggest thing we did is we started at the Winton Sprint days and doing test and tune days for the first sort of 6 to 12 months, and then moving up into a club championship, state championship, national championship, just building your knowledge and your car setup throughout your time in the category.
Yeah, definitely. And those are all things that you, like we were mentioning earlier, you bring back to Dream, you take it to your own racing, and it's a really good community over there, I believe, at Dream. So have you got any plans for the future? Do you think you'd rather be a mechanic or a racer down the line?
Definitely would rather be a racing car driver down the line, but then there's obviously opportunities with Dream to work on my mechanical side, which gives me a good understanding about the cars as well, which has been really crucial, especially in the last sort of 12 to 18 months, doing a lot more work on the cars and like different cars, and then also my Excel as well, to understand what's going on underneath for setup and mechanical servicing wise.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously the TA2 Trans Am are a big car and your XL is a small car, but do you still find that most of the setup, not how you set it up, but most of the suspension, the under stuff, is it all translate to each other? Is it similar? Is it very different? What sort of things do you notice between the two?
Yeah, no, so it's quite different. So there's a lot more different components on the TA2 Trans Ams, and the servicing intervals are quite a lot smaller. But a lot of that, the way you service and the way you present those cars is the same for the XL. It's still that base, that's sort of beginner basic stuff that you still can bring across and work on, which is good.
Yeah, 100%. And how do you sort of go with the maintenance on a TA2? What, as a general sort of thing, if everything goes well, what's the difference in price in maintenance?
It's quite massive. So generally, just oil change. You'll be looking at a clutch. You'll be checking out the gearbox and the diff and the tail shaft, all those big components. And then obviously throughout the year, you'd be looking at servicing the diff, servicing the gearbox, which is something that you wouldn't be doing in the XL. You wouldn't be servicing the gearbox every year. Every couple of race meetings, it'd be every year.
Yeah, and how do you sort of go with XL parts? Is it sort of one thing that if it breaks, you'll just go to a scrapyard and just grab a new diff or something like that? Is that how the category sort of works? Or do you need to build a diff from scratch really to have something good and reliable?
So generally, there's guys that are out there that freshen up and do a swap over gearbox and stuff like that. There's a few businesses in Melbourne that do that. So we've got a spare gearbox and our race gearbox. So it's not all about just going to the scrapyard and grabbing another one, which you can do and it just fits straight in. But there are guys out there that do freshen up engines and gearboxes and whatnot as well.
And so sort of like a different gearbox you'd probably service once a year. What about an engine? How often do you go to a builder and get them even just to look at it?
It's all budget. It all just down to what your budget allows. But every year, I'd probably at least get it checked out, and then obviously your oil change servicing stuff's every race meeting. Before you go to a big race, you just give it a fresh lick of oil and a fresh filter.
Yeah. And what sort of have you noticed that there are any common parts on XLs that go quite quickly compared to what you thought?
Not fail as such as just get bent in crashes.
Yeah. Have you been unfortunate enough to be involved in a big accident or even just a minor door slam?
Just a couple of front bars got written off, but apart from that, it's all good.
Get into the back of too many people?
Yes.
Fair enough. And what do you sort of do with front bumpers? Is it got to be a stock XL bumper, or do people make their own fiberglass molds? What sort of happens there?
So they've got to be the stock from factory bumper off the standard XLs, obviously.
Yeah, and for someone like yourself, your car is quite noticeable when it's on track because it's a bright yellow. Do you get your car wrapped or painted?
So that's the original colour, and then we've got a wrap over the top as well to maintain the same colour, and all our sponsored decals and whatnot as well over the top of that.
Yeah, cool. And have you got any advice for aspiring racers? So someone who's really wanting to get into grassroots motorsport, especially Hyundai XLs, what lessons would you give them? And is there any lessons that you've learnt along the way which you wish someone had shared with you earlier?
The biggest thing is just getting in a car and doing seat time straight away, doing as much seat time as you can, speaking to people in the community of XLs is a big thing as well. Getting to learn some stuff, make some friends, goes a long way.
And is there any other categories that you'd recommend getting into? Because you've got go-karting as a good starter. If you've never done racing at all, you've got Hyundai XLs, which is very commonly known for a step up from go-karting. Is there any other categories that you recommend?
Yeah, definitely. Formula RX8 is a new category here in Australia launching next year. Justin Lewis is running that one. Definitely a really good calendar, 7-round championship. KO, Fox Sports, SBS. So it's a really good package to even just for grassroots racers to get into to learn their feet and build on their skills from there.
Yeah, and I think it's a really great thing what they're doing over there, and it'll be exciting to see what comes from it in the future. And, I feel like myself, I do like Formula Vee. I do think it's a good entry point, but I do believe unless you've got good material underneath you, you'll seem to struggle. Do you find the same with XLs that if you don't sort of go in with a good bit of equipment that you're not going to get the results that you want or even finish how you want to?
Yeah, I agree. The similar thing to Formula Vee, learning the setup and learning everything yourself takes a lot of time. There's different compounds of brake pads as well you can run. So there's quite a few different variables that you've got to work out yourself. If you had someone that was already in the category that knows the setup, can put you at a starting point a lot further down than where you would start. So I believe it's the same thing as Formula Vee.
Yeah. And have you got any sponsors or partners that you'd like to thank for being on board with you?
Yeah, definitely. I'd like to thank Saf from Refined Auto Styling. He's helped me out a fair bit this year, which has been really cool. It was really good to have him on the car at Calder Park, and also Hamlin Concreting as well.
Yeah, awesome. And Grassroots Motorsport's one of those sports where without officials and community members, we wouldn't be able to do it. So I'll just give a quick shout out to them and, people in your team who often come to the track for free and, they don't expect anything back. It's really good to have people like that involved in motorsport. But have you got any future goals ahead for you in your racing career? Where do you want to sort of end up in the future?
I'd love to get an opportunity to go overseas and travel the world and see motorsport from a different country and experience what they experience, because it'll be very different to in Australia, how they go about it, and then bring back to Australia to improve the motorsport here as well.
Sounds like a good plan, Liam, and I'd like to thank you for jumping on tonight and giving us a bit of your spare time. I really do appreciate it. And yeah, if anyone's racing this weekend, just remember to drive fast and take chances safely, of course. Thanks, Liam.
Thank you.